Another game that's out pretty soon. You've been playing for a couple of weeks now. I feel like everyone in the office has been playing a little bit of it. We had Mary Kish has been playing it. Eric Tay, they did some live streams a couple of weeks back. But Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
You're a fan. Tell me your Dark Souls lineage. Do you go all the way back to Demon Souls, or where did you come into this? Because I'm basically like a Bloodborne fan, and that's about it.
Okay, so aside from Demon Souls, I've beaten all the From games at least twice. I think Bloodborne, although it's probably it's one of my favorite From Software games now. It's probably the one I've beaten the fewest times, aside from Demon Souls. Demon Souls I beat once back in the day. Went through it almost twice, but I never completely finished like a New Game Plus. But yeah, I've had a sense of. I think Dark Souls 1 was my first one.
Right.
Then I went to 2, went back to Demon Souls. Bloodborne was my game of the year last year.
What's your favorite?
Probably Bloodborne at this point. Disregarding my review impressions on Dark Souls 3. Right. Probably Bloodborne at this point, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Dark Souls.
Disregarding because you can't talk about it yet?
Yeah. Talk about it what? Tuesday? Yeah, a week from now.
Despite the fact that everyone's streaming it online right now.
Yeah.
Well, we can't talk about the U.S. version, what I think of that, until Tuesday.
So talk to me about the Japanese version that has been out that we've been able to talk about.
Yeah, it's as if, I keep telling people that it's as if Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne kind of had a baby.
Okay.
It's very much like I played through my first playthrough without a shield the whole time. Which, Bloodborne was much twitchier. It was more of a knife fight as opposed to this like boxing match. I don't know but it's more of a, you can dodge very much more often, faster. I just poured it into endurance, which helps you dodge more, and strength. I started with a warrior, got through most of the bosses. Eric Tay he's fought, I think, a few more bosses than I have for sure. He's gotten to these secret areas that I've been meaning to go back to since I finished the game the first time. And I need to do that soon, but I have a lot of other projects, as we all do, going on, so I'm trying to balance that out because I want to get through the Japanese version as well. Which is, it's weird because they swap the dodge and the action buttons, so I'm sure I'm going to die a lot right away. Right? Yeah. So I'm going to be tapping circle and wondering why I'm just still getting hit.
Team Toaster 1132 says, I love the lore and story parts of the Souls games of Bloodborne. How are you enjoying that aspect of it so far?
It's just as obscure as they always have been, but this one does a pretty good job of setting up the overall structure. You're kind of the Lords of Cinder. There are 5. One who... Well, without spoiling anything, there are 5 Lords of Cinder, and then a certain number of them have like abandoned their thrones for a little bit. So you're just hunting them down to kind of link the fire, which is a common theme trope in Dark Souls. There's the Age of Fire, the Age of Darkness. You have to really look deep into this lore if you want to get much out of it. But I think for people who don't care as much, the story does a good job of structurally setting up what you're doing, like a Zelda game kind of. You're hunting down these bosses. These 4. There's not just 4 bosses in Dark Souls 3, but there are 4 major ones. And then, aside from that, it's very obscure, and still, it's more about tone than exposition, I think. And this nails the tone just like the other ones have.
It seems like anyone who's a fan of a Souls game at this stage is already sort of chomping at the bit for this. One of the interesting things I found about Bloodborne was that it appeals to, I don't know what it is about like resetting a franchise or like starting a new one over. It's a little less of a barrier to entry for people. Like I played Bloodborne and I felt it a lot easier to get into than I think I was imagining Dark Souls to be. Do you think Dark Souls 3 would be a good place for people to start who maybe have skipped out in the first 2 in Demon Souls?
Yeah, actually, I think I was telling Pete, because Pete has said he's been wanting to get into these games for a long time, which a lot of people do.
You've not played much of them, right?
So I played a lot of Demon Souls. I didn't finish it. Tried playing Dark Souls, and sort of the same problem I had with Bloodborne. Same problem I think a lot of people have, where they beat their head against the wall trying to learn the game and get good at it. You make a bunch of progress, and then you hit another wall.
Right, yeah.
And it's that instance where you felt like you made some progress and hit another wall that, for me, was just too much. But that's, time for me is really precious. If it was... something like I had more time or it was an assignment, I would love to really focus in on that. But for Dark Souls 3, I'm really going to try this time. I'm going to make it happen because I really like Bloodborne, and I kind of let that pass me by. Like I still need to go back and finish that, And from what you've told me, this sounds like it's a good way to get into the series for a lot of people.
Yeah, either if you're completely new to it, or if, even more so, if Bloodborne's the one that got you into it, this is probably the Dark Souls, weirdly enough, the 3rd in the trilogy to get into it with, because I didn't find it's still difficult. I hit walls, but maybe it was just because I was kind of plowing through it over a course of a few days, whereas Bloodborne I let trickle over 2 or 3 weeks.
And I mean, once you've played, this is like the 5th of these games, right? It's not like the same first time you played any of them.
Yeah, I think it does. Also, it's really good in that, in terms of directing you where to go. Dark Souls, people like the first Dark Souls because you start off and there's like 4 different directions you can go right away. It's kind of overwhelming. You have to learn where you're going to get killed a ton and then where you're actually going to get killed only a few times, and that's the way you go. This one kind of balances giving you options, but not too many. Right. So I think the most paths I could take at any one time was 3 or 4, but then there were never less than 2 most of the time. So I felt like I could explore, but I didn't feel like I was being completely overwhelmed. So I think in that respect, it's also like structurally, this might be the game to get into also.
A lot of people in the chat are talking about how it's been running on PC. What have you been playing on mostly? What did the guys live stream on actually as well?
They live streamed on PC, I believe.
Okay.
I was playing on PS4. And I noticed some hiccups, but I don't know like whether I'd speak to that until it's closer to launch. I'm sure they'll have like a patch before it.
Yeah, well, Eric was saying that they have a day 1 patch, which is hoping to resolve some of the frame ratey stuff. But PS4 was looking all right.
There were definite frame rate issues, which, like you said, the patch should hopefully fix that. PC, it's not locked at 30 like console is.
Okay,
so you can jack it up. The frame rate I noticed on people playing on PC, the frame rate looked completely fine. It looked great. Any other technical issues? They're just minor here and there, nothing huge. But yeah, I think pending that patch, I'd rather play it on PC.
Right.
Just because it's a game that requires precision. I don't want frame rate to ever be an issue. Like that 1 second I'm going to miss a dodge or something.
Yeah, fair enough. Dark Souls 3 is out in Japan as of April 12th. Or sorry, March 24th. But it's out April 12th here in North America and in the rest of the world, in Europe as well. Yeah. And the rest of the world that isn't North America and Europe. So all you folks in New Zealand and Africa, look forward to Dark Souls 3 coming out in a couple of weeks. When is the review embargo dropping, though?
A week from today.
Oh, really? Okay.
At some point.
All right, so next week, a week ahead of time. That's pretty good. Thank you so much, Michael Mahardy, for getting us the lowdown on this visual game.